Between conscious and unconscious information, but also what can we do at any one point, and there's a couple of things we'll go through, what can we do at any one point when the conscious mind gets too much? Okay, because there's a peculiar phenomena that happens in some cases, and definitely came across with myself when I had those, as you said before, those really headstrong clients.
Yeah.
Where you can almost outdance or outmaneuver the conscious mind so much, but eventually it's like, it doesn't just get tired and go away. It starts to catch up the little tricks. It starts to see them coming before you do, because it's quite a susceptible part of the mind. So what I want to do firstly is let's work out exactly when we know the conscious mind is active, and also when the conscious mind and the unconscious mind are active. Because there's a common thought and belief that says that once the conscious mind is more active, the unconscious mind is going off doing other things. That can be the case sometimes. It definitely is the case when you set it up therapeutically like that. But in regards to how can we really listen to and what can we pay attention for that would let us know that both minds are working simultaneously, and what are they trying to do for this person? Okay?
See, I've tried to measure that with my testing process.
Yes.
I try and, you know how you did the two hands out the front?
Mm-hmm.
I said, now, which one do you think is your conscious mind and which one's your unconscious?
Mm-hmm.
I said, where are they in reference to working with one another?
Mm-hmm.
So I try and get that happening.
Mm-hmm.
I did a session with one of the students last night.
Okay.
Utah.
Yep.
And I used the DMI and she said, well, my unconscious is up on top of the sand dune and looking at all the great stuff,
mm-hmm.
and the other one's sitting down on the beach
mm-hmm.
and doesn't want to move.
Okay.
So, I just did some reframing.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, yeah, well, it's okay to sit on the beach, but is that what you really want?
Mm-hmm.
I said, did you bother to ask him to give you a hand up the hill?
Mm-hmm.
And just tried to pick apart why there was this belief system that it was okay to do what she was doing.
Excellent. So let me ask you this, just to leverage from that. If a client, and it's very common, a client has this, belief system, if you want to label it like that, it's really just a phenomenon in itself. Why do clients get so locked into that, do you think? That, you hear a lot of people say, well, that's a belief system, it's a pattern, it's this, it's that, it's this and that. What are they so locked in for? Is it the belief system itself, or do you think it's really masking for something else?
Quite often I think it's a comfort zone thing.
Yes.
And
so where's comfort zone? Do you think conscious or unconscious?
I think it's a conscious thing because they have this understanding that they've been through something and that they deserve something, right? I either deserve to be listened to, or it's okay for me to do this. Sure. I'll make an excuse and I'll set this all up and that'll be it, right? And I'm sticking with it.
Sure.
So I think that it's a conscious thing.
Yes. You'll find that with people that get stuck into this, there's going to be a lot of conscious. Now, the way I put it, we can only guesstimate at this as well, is comfort zone, there's no immediate danger. The conscious mind has become accustomed to that zone, if you will. There's no threatening environment, there's no threatening things, which is why when something is threatening or does become threatening inside a comfort zone, it tends to scare you a lot more because you're not prepared for it.
Yeah.
Okay. At an unconscious level, we've also got to think about this as well, is the homeostasis of the unconscious mind, which is very similar to conscious thinking, meaning that if the unconscious mind, think of it like a bit of a slob. If it doesn't have to do anything, it won't do anything. If it believes that everything gets set up pattern-wise or belief-wise is good enough, it's doing its job.
Okay.
And again, it comes down to a safety thing as well. Okay? So to move past that as well is, how do we know what signs are relevant to conscious thinking? Let's make a mental list, and let's see if we can come up with a few more.
I would say discussion around things that are definitely black and white.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely this, it's definitely that, it's not this, it's not that.
Yes.
It's like a calculated decision.
Yes.
Whereas unconsciously, it might be a bit, well, it's kind of like this, and you start to get that, explaining it in metaphors, or explaining it, it's sort of like this, like getting an analogy for something.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Why is that? Well, you're 100% correct. Why is it so hard for a client to give you a description of what's happening unconscious?
I guess they haven't really been there a lot.
Mm-hmm.
To be able to explain it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not an area where they tend to go.
Sure.
They don't tend to go into trance to find the answers for things.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They tend to, think scientifically.
Yep.
And if it's outside of that realm, well, the shoulders shrug, the hands go up, and they say, well, it just does.
Yep, you're 100% correct in that. What else would be the case? You're correct in the fact that if someone hasn't been in trance very often, or a trance that they recognise, being that we're in trance a lot, a trance that they don't recognise, it's very hard to describe an environment where you've spent little time.
Mm.
Okay, so what else would occur, or why else would this occur? Why is it hard to describe?
The conscious mind looks at it. The conscious mind looks at it differently.
Mm-hmm.
But the unconscious mind, as it works in symbols,
Mm-hmm.
it'll put the equation together, or the scenario together,
Mm-hmm.
and it's comfortable with the way it puts it together.
Sure.
It doesn't have any issues. It doesn't, it doesn't have a lookup table that it's got to go, oh yeah, it's ticked that, it's ticked that, it's ticked that.
Yes.
Okay, it must mean this.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, the calculating conscious mind has got to do that. It's got to say, hang on a second, yeah, that and that and that, and yeah, okay, yeah, I'm good with that.
Yep. So you would agree it's got to make it's got to make some sense out of nonsense.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. So what else?
I'm going unconsciously to try and find this at the moment.
Yeah, I know. It's an interesting question.
It has to feel right.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like the answer comes from within.
Mm-hmm.
You don't go off looking for. And the unconscious it has that inquisitive nature about it, where it'd like to come up with the answer.
Mm-hmm.
So it's probably a little bit forthcoming with suggestions.
Mm-hmm. You're on the right track. Why is it so hard consciously? And this all refers back to what your clients go through.
Oh, it's really hard consciously, because there's that fear of, I haven't got this right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be made a fool of.
Mm-hmm.
there's all those protection mechanisms cut in, and it says no, don't go down there because they're going to think less of you. They're what happens if you're not right? These could be the consequences, and then it'll throw all of those up to say, see, I told you, you're not going to get a result.
Yes.
Whereas the unconscious mind goes, that's all right, we'll filter out whatever we need to, because we're about doing the job, not, and this is very much like work, not thinking about how hard we can make it not to do, or how easy we can make it not to do the job.
Yes.
If you get what I mean.
Yes.
So
can you
some are talking themselves out of it.
Yeah.
Whereas the unconscious mind will talk itself into it.
Yes. So can you see why sometimes clients, even coming in for something that's very remedial, like stop smoking or weight loss, stuff like that, they can feel rather scared about it.
Yeah, of course.
Because there's such a confliction going on between what is conscious and unconscious. Only for the fact is, yes, people can say, well, they're not prepared, they're prepared for the unknown and things like that. That's definitely the case. But when there's so many programs going on at once, so many different thoughts, conscious going this way, unconscious mind going this way, there's going to be a lot of confusion, and people get scared inside that confusion. Okay.
Very much so. When I had one client that was he was trying to come off drugs, and you do a bit of a convincer to see that hypnosis works, and it totally rattled him. He's gone, wow, it just happens. Wow, this shit's so powerful.
Yep.
And sometimes within that, you've got to get them to get their toe in the water gently, not chuck them in the deep end.
Yeah, you can't throw them in and dunk them, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. What else would let you know the conscious mind is more active? These are all 100% correct. Anything that comes down to that unsureness of the session, that is definitely a conscious understanding. Okay. And it should just prove the point again why we have to get rid of the conscious mind so often. It's always going to reflect back on it. So what else would let us know that the conscious mind is still, I'll use both these words, what would let us know that the conscious mind is more active or still active than the unconscious?
Probably the fact that they're talking so much.
Excellent. Talk to me about that. Why is that so important to recognise?
Because, it's the old smoke and mirrors thing. While they're busy talking, they're not in the position to be receiving.
Okay.
And if they're not receiving, then they can't get hurt.
Okay.
Okay. So if they're busy talking and I think it's this and oh yeah, but it could be this and all of that sort of stuff, you've almost got to the point to say, okay, now I want you to close your mouth and close your eyes, right? And because it's just not gonna happen otherwise.
Correct. Okay, so it's another indication. What else? Let's get as many of these as possible, because I want to start reflecting on your sessions. That could be the result of why clients need to come back more than once. Okay, it's not always the case, but just things to recognise.
Yeah.
What else?
Quite possibly asking to elaborate on things. So if I do a reframe or an explanation, rather than them go off and think about it, and and let the unconscious put it together, quite often the conscious mind will jump back in, and and start that conversation where they feel comfortable again. If you sort of get what I mean.
Yep. Why would that indicate more conscious thinking?
Probably because they think that they're in a position of understanding and a position of power, and it puts them back in that comfort zone again.
Mm-hmm. What else? Definitely the power, and that would also, we could also put that back into the comfort zone, especially for that type of person or have that mentality. It's like trying to take control of a session they don't know how to control.
Mm. I'm trying to think of different, not variations, but something different altogether.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they're trying to get their feedback and tick the boxes, right? Whereas unconsciously, your feedback will be an unconscious movement.
Mm-hmm.
So adding with the way the new loop is reinforced on the way around, you will see unconscious moments attached to that.
Definitely.
And then as that loop gets formed, and there will be a relaxed manner in which they explain that. There will be a certain amount of flow to it.
Yep.
It won't be so matter of fact as it would be with a conscious version of that.
Excellent. Okay. If we were to take all of these examples, and narrow them down to a couple of singularities, what's the common theme occurring that lets us know the conscious mind is still or more active?
Definite conversation from the client.
Yes. In what way?
Directed towards a perceived outcome or a perceived reason why it is what it is.
What else? You're 100% correct. Conversation is usually the number one key. You've probably had it when you ask your client the number one question, which is, what's the problem? And they ramble and ramble and ramble. And every question you ask after that, it seems like they've got an answer prepared, like they've been scripting the whole event.
Yep.
Okay. What else?
Definite explanations, not wishy-washy explanations.
Excellent. What do you mean by that?
If it's a conscious explanation, it will be matter of fact and to the point, and it will pretty much tick off all the boxes, Scott.
Yes.
Right. This is the reason. Here, and here.
Yes.
Whereas if it's more unconscious, there'll be like explaining,
yes,
trying to tell a story,
yes,
trying to pull in something from outside of that to say, perhaps it could be like this and it might be like that, and trying to ease you in to what they think it is, but they're still not really sure.
Yes, you're 100% correct. I think this is the singularity as far as what we're doing now is when you're speaking to the conscious mind, it's going to be very direct. Now, when I say direct, there's no thinking involved. It's the same answer they've been telling everybody over and over again. The unconscious, like you said, you hear a client start to describe things or start to answer your question, that they give you a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and they come back to the first thing, then they go forward 4 steps, come back 2 steps, go forward 3 steps, and they usually sum that up by saying, Michael, does that make sense to you? And you can tell there's some sort of confusion. They can't quite connect the dots with what they're saying. Whereas the conscious mind, it's just straightforward thinking.
Yep.
Okay? So this lets us know that you can have a conscious conversation and an unconscious conversation at the same time.
Of course.
Okay? Now, the clue is, obviously coming back to the to unconscious moments and things like that, absolutely. But we're going to start to think of unconscious moments through communication as well.
Okay.
Okay? So...
Yeah, because you're right.
They're not just visual. They're not. No. Everyone just looks for the visual ones, and that's the novice way. You're past a novice. So what I want to talk about now is, how do we know when there's unconscious communication? I don't want to see it. Let's imagine that you're on Skype, or let's imagine you've got your eyes closed through this whole session. What are you going to hear? Now, I want to get past the idea of saying things like, well, they're going to be confused, they're going to and ah, because it's very basic. I want to look at the predicates of conversation. So
more around the tonality.
Yep, so it's going to be definitely tone.
And the assertiveness in the speech.
Mm-hmm. What do you mean by assertiveness?
Well, if I was telling you that it had to be this way, and it can't be any other way, then I would be explaining it that way, wouldn't I?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, I had to bit of role play there too.
I like it.
To get that out.
To get the point across.
Whereas if there's some uncertainty in the voice, it's almost like, and I'm going into an explanation that I can relate to something. It's a bit like when you're not sure whether your foot's going to sink in the sand or not. You're treading lightly.
Yeah. Do you see what I'm asking you to do right now, and how a little bit difficult it is to explain it?
Of course, because you want it from my unconscious.
You're learning all my little tricks. So you see, it's interesting to come to a point to start to even just to explain an unconscious process. You need to start using the same phenomena that your client goes through, which is this just mixed up amalgamation of a weird conversation that has a bit here and a bit there. It's like the client knows something unconscious, but tries to explain it from you at a conscious level. They have to... so even trying to explain it to you now, have to go into a small metaphor. They give you what is quote unquote could be looked at as a conscious answer, okay, and then they back it up by trying to explain the answer, and then they back it up by trying to explain the explanation of the answer, and they do that over and over again. This leads to more unconscious processes. It's like a client tries to make you clear about what they're saying by giving you more examples that only lead them in further into trance. Now, the reason it leads them further into trance is because the examples of the example of the example come through more metaphors, more stories, more unconscious moments, which leads them into trance. So a little unique way to do this is, you've heard me say this before, is act dumb. When a client gives you an answer, whether it's conscious or unconscious, this works really well for conscious answers, get them to just explain the answer. Not explain the problem, not explain the situation, but find out, what did you mean by that answer specifically? Not about the whole thing of smoking. It's that answer you just gave me, I'm not quite clear on. Can you explain that to me? And they'll go ahead and say, well, Michael, this is what I mean. And then you act dumb again and say, I'm really not following you. What do you mean by that answer? What exactly are you trying to tell me? Now, what you're doing at this point is you're limiting the way they can explain things. It's like you're saying, no, that explanation's not good enough. No, that one's not good enough. Give me more, give me more. Do you see how that could work in your advantage?
Yes, and it's also very covert, because their conscious won't work out
Yeah.
that's what you're actually doing.
And why would that be? This is key. This is what a lot of people don't understand about covert hypnosis. People think covert hypnosis is more advanced language, more advanced pattern. It's really not. What is important? Well, why is it that the conscious mind would have no idea what you're doing, and you would definitely slip past it?
Because it thinks it's in a position of authority.
Yep, absolutely.
And
what is this approach missing, I should probably say, that works to our advantage? What is it missing?
Well, it's missing the conscious side of the argument.
Yep.
So if he says, well, it's like this, this, and this, and you're either going to, he's looking for an agreement, and you're not really giving him an agreement or a disagreement.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying, well, come on, give me a little bit more. I'm not sure whether I've got it right.
Excellent.
So it's almost like, I want to go into a story.
There it is again.